Hours after U.S. strikes on Iranian targets, a senior advisor to Mojtaba Khamenei warned Washington that any new aggression could trigger a far wider conflict. American forces targeted radar and surveillance sites in Goruk and on Qeshm Island, escalating tensions around the strategically vital Strait of Hormuz. In a stark warning to Washington, Mohsen Rezai said renewed military action against Iran would lead the United States into what he called a dark and endless corridor of conflict. As Iran issued a chilling warning to Washington, U.S. allies across the Gulf rushed to activate air defenses against a fresh wave of missile and drone threats. The latest military exchange began after U.S. forces intercepted 4 drones allegedly heading toward one of the world's most strategic waterways. American strikes reportedly focused on Iranian radar and surveillance sites along the Gulf Coast and near the Strait of Hormuz. Washington says the action was taken to protect regional security and ensure the safety of international maritime traffic. According to U.S. officials, the drones were intercepted and destroyed before they could reach commercial shipping lanes. The latest confrontation has intensified concerns that the uneasy truce between the United States and Iran may be unraveling. Kuwaiti authorities announced emergency measures after reporting incoming missile and drone threats targeting the country. The military called on residents to remain alert and follow official guidance as security forces responded to the situation. Across the Gulf, Bahrain activated warning sirens and advised citizens and residents to move to safe locations as tensions escalated. A senior advisor to Mojtaba Khamenei cautioned that any new American military action could trigger consequences far beyond the current battlefield. Mohsen Rezai said, and I quote, "They know that the cost of negotiations is far lower than the cost of war. If they choose military action again, they will enter a dark and endless corridor," unquote. Iranian officials warned that a broader conflict could spread across key maritime corridors stretching from the Indian Ocean to the Mediterranean. Iran says sustained military pressure and economic restrictions risk igniting a wider confrontation across the Middle East. Tehran has reiterated that it is ready to retaliate should Washington launch another round of military operations. The remarks come amid persistent tensions after months of exchanges, counterstrikes, and growing instability across the region. Donald Trump reportedly told senior aides he would end the ceasefire only if Iran was responsible for killing U.S. troops. Trump privately indicated that the death of U.S. personnel could trigger a return to direct military action. The position suggested he was prepared to tolerate limited clashes rather than risk a broader regional escalation. The latest tensions followed some of the most intense exchanges of fire since the truce first took effect. U.S. officials told the Wall Street Journal that repeated Iranian attacks had significantly increased pressure on Trump. Officials also warned the attacks had raised fresh concerns about the long-term survival of the ceasefire. The Wall Street Journal reported that Trump continued to believe an agreement with Tehran remained achievable despite tensions. However, the report said Trump showed little urgency to finalize a comprehensive agreement with Tehran. Trump told the Wall Street Journal it remained possible the U.S. blockade of Iran could continue until Labor Day. The administration was reportedly working on a 60-day framework to guide future negotiations with Iran. The Wall Street Journal said Trump rejected Iran's latest offer and demanded additional concessions from Tehran. He reportedly insisted Iran must make significant concessions before receiving any sanctions relief. Iran maintained that nuclear negotiations could advance only after meaningful financial relief was provided. Tehran continued to seek access to frozen assets as part of any future understanding with Washington.
This is, as you probably have been watching, so from 1922 to present, it really never worked because we took a strong action for a different reason. So they were reciprocating it.
Mr. President, can you explain why?
The negotiation itself has gone very well, actually. Very well.
Mr. President,
it could happen. I mean, if it happens, and it might not happen, who knows? But if it happens, it could happen like over the weekend. But as it stands now, we will go in sometime in the not too distant future. It's very safe down there. You know, we have, with Space Force, we have cameras. Every angle of those 3 sites are being watched at all times. If anybody went there, we'll see exactly what's happening, and we'll will blow it up a little bit further. But as far as getting it, the B-2 bombers did a job like nobody's ever seen. In the night, with no moon, dead darkness, at 1 o'clock in the morning or so, they dropped those bombs, the biggest, just about as big a bomb as you can ever find, and it went down air chutes. It was hard to believe that they can do the technology. It followed a beam right into the air chutes, right, exploded. Very hard to get that material, but I still nevertheless want it. And I don't want to do it if we're in conflict. I don't want to put men in that kind of danger. I remember Jimmy Carter had some bad problems in Iran with the hostages. I don't want to ever put our people in that kind of danger. But when it's over, as of this moment, it's agreed that we will go in with them, we will get it, and we will destroy it. It will be destroyed.
The Iranian Navy says that on June 3rd it targeted the command and control systems aboard a US destroyer, striking at what it describes as the ship's brain in Gulf waters. Tehran insists the strike was a direct response to what it calls aggressive US measures against Iranian commercial shipping, accusing Washington of harassment at sea. This development was announced in an official statement issued by Iran's Army Public Relations Office, giving the claim the stamp of formal military approval. According to that statement, the US destroyer was attempting to enter Iranian waters, a move Tehran frames as a clear violation of its sovereignty and red lines. However, US Central Command has flatly denied Iran's account, rejecting the claim that any US Navy destroyer was hit or successfully targeted. CENTCOM went so far as to say Iran is lying, insisting that American assets at sea are operating freely and without damage despite Tehran's statements. Iran's statement said, and I quote, "A few hours ago, following aggressive actions, violations of the regulations governing the Strait of Hormuz, and hostile acts against Iranian commercial vessels in the Sea of Oman, by the terrorist and aggressive US military, the Navy, immediately upon detecting and identifying the source of those actions, targeted the command and control center responsible for them." End quote. Meanwhile, eyewitnesses inside Iran reported hearing the sounds of explosions and active air defenses, according to Iran International, suggesting something significant was unfolding in the skies. Residents in eastern Tehran described the distinct thud of air defense fire and then a single, loud explosion around 8:45 p.m., sending people rushing to their windows and balconies. Similar air defense sounds were reported from Karaj and Urmia, while blasts were heard near Bojnord Airport, pointing to a wider pattern of aerial activity across multiple Iranian cities. Iran stressed that its navy is closely monitoring what it calls a criminal and aggressive enemy presence, keeping constant watch on US movements in the region. The statement warns that the Navy will respond to any hostile act in the shortest possible time, signaling readiness for rapid retaliation if it feels provoked. Tehran further vowed that its forces will exact revenge in the harshest manner for the blood of the sailors of the destroyer Dina, framing its actions as avenging fallen martyrs. This latest claimed attack comes after both Tehran and Washington exchanged fire under the shadow of a fragile ceasefire, raising fears that the truce is rapidly unraveling in the Gulf. At least one person has been killed in the devastating aftermath of Iran's deadly strikes on Kuwait. Kuwaiti authorities also alleged that multiple people sustained injuries following Iran's drone attacks. With the international airport suffering significant damage, Kuwait has suspended all commercial flight operations. Airport operations in Kuwait are reportedly expected to remain halted until further notice from authorities. The airport had only reopened for normal operations on June 1st before the strikes took place. Kuwait's Ministry of Defense confirmed that Iran launched multiple hostile drones during its June 3rd attack. According to Kuwait's Ministry of Defense, Iran fired 13 ballistic missiles and 17 drones during the assault. Gulf allies have now come out strongly against Iran following attacks on Bahrain and Kuwait. The Gulf Cooperation Council released a statement on June 3rd condemning what it called ongoing aggression. The GCC reportedly accused Iran of carrying out cowardly attacks against civilians in Bahrain and Kuwait. GCC Secretary-General Jassim Mohammed al-Budaiwi also accused Iran of hostile actions against Gulf nations. The statement further alleged that Iran's attacks amounted to violations of international law and accepted norms. Al-Budaiwi also urged the international community to take a firm stand and end Iran's aggression. The Gulf Council Secretary-General said, and I quote, The attacks reflect the Iranian regime's insistence on pursuing rejected hostile policies targeting the security, stability, and sovereignty of the member states. Iran is in violation of international law, the United Nations Charter, and all international norms, stressing that this requires a firm international stance to put an end to these dangerous Iranian aggressive practices. We underscored that the security of the Kingdom of Bahrain and the State of Kuwait is an integral part of the security of the GCC states, and that the Cooperation Council states stand united in confronting these attacks and fully support all measures and procedures taken by the two countries to defend their security, sovereignty, and territorial integrity. End quote. On June 3rd, the United States and Iran exchanged missile strikes across the region despite a fragile ceasefire. American bases in Kuwait and Bahrain came under fire following U.S. self-defense strikes against Iran. Press TV's report said, and I quote, "Iran's IRGC announced that it struck a U.S. military airbase and the U.S. Fifth Fleet's headquarters with missiles and drones in retaliation for American attacks." The IRGC said a U.S. warplane first hit an Iranian tanker near the Strait of Hormuz late last night, causing engine room damage. In response, the IRGC targeted a U.S.-affiliated vessel named Panaya with naval missiles. After a subsequent U.S. strike on an IRGC telecom tower on Qeshm Island, the IRGC Aerospace Force attacked a U.S. air and helicopter base in a regional country as well as the Fifth Fleet's command center. The IRGC warned that any violation of security in the Strait of Hormuz would bring a harsh price for the U.S. military, unquote. Iran has reportedly stopped communicating with mediators regarding a possible extension of the ceasefire. However, U.S. President Donald Trump rejected those claims and insisted that talks with Iran remain ongoing.